this is The Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. As I do in the beginning of each episode, I mention my social media and audio platforms. And I add on to this on my Substack. And also, you enjoy my content, whether it be writing on Substack or my podcast, feel free to click on the link, buy me a coffee, and lend your support. So, audio platforms are on Audible, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Pandora, iHeartRadio. And I'm definitely looking to grow to where you enjoy your podcast. I'm on that. And also to add on, feedback is greatly important. So please give me a rating. And also, give me feedback by email if you choose to. So, this episode is about the artists that I think relate to Peter, Paul, and Mary. So I'm going to talk about John Fogerty. I'm going to talk about Billy Joel. I'm going to talk about Sinead O'Connor and Simple Minds. All right, so let's dive in. Okay. The Old Man Down the Road by John Fogerty. This song deals with John Fogerty's extensive legal troubles which weighed on him for over a decade. An early contract he signed forced him to relinquish the rights to his Creedence Clearwater revival song, but that at the same time obligated him to keep recording. After the band broke up, he was so disillusioned with the industry that he refused to play the Creedence song, in part because so many of them were joyful tunes and he was feeling anything but. Alright, I want to give some thoughts before I get into the rest of this. I think it's very interesting. I think John Fogerty, all this little battle that John Fogerty was going through with, and him finding the steps to use his songwriting ability to address these things is very interesting. So it's unfortunate that this happens a lot, especially in the music industry, when it comes down to rights and it comes down to the legal matters of people's songs and how they stand on it and what is owed and what their abilities to do things. And this points to going back to Peter, Paul, and Mary, talking about the awareness, making awareness of the social problems that people face, particularly in the 60s, going along the lines with civil rights and going along the lines with the Vietnam War. So in the essence of this, going along the rights of your stance and how you obligate and how you, all of the things that you have done and have proven as a track record and your work as an artist. And going back to John Fogerty when he was with Creedence Clearwater, even though their songs were very joyful, they did, particularly him as a frontman, he did press light on these social ills of society. For instance, Fortunate Son, it sounds as if it's something about, cheerful, but not in reality. It's about the problems of war, particularly what you know, from what my understanding is, the Vietnam War and, you know, going against it and finding the issues within going to war with what's the kind of thinking back, is it really a war worth fighting into? And the ideas of being societal classes and everything else that are laced within that song too. And it's just quite interesting, again, that it's almost, well, from my opinion, that he got the last laugh because he used this song as a means to find his own right and his own voice again from the destruction of what happened with this legal battle. It's very interesting. All right, so let's get into the rest of this. The Old Man Down the Road. The Old Man Down the Road is a depiction of the devil using imagery found in many blues songs where a deal is struck. This is how Fogerty felt about his contract. He gave up his songs and, to some extent, his soul so he could make music, and how he was paying the price. It tells the story about a man standing in your way with a suitcase covered in rattlesnake hide. Eyes as black as coal, Fogerty said. In his case, this demon is the record industry. The first single from John Fogerty's Centerfold album, this was his first big hit as a solo artist. Fogerty was the driving force of Creedence Clearwater Revival, which broke up in 1972. He released solo albums in 73 and 75, and then took 10 years away from recording because of legal battles, and also because he was enjoying life on his farm. During the trial, Fogerty at that point was trying to explain that there are only so many ways to play swamp rock. After a demonstration on his guitar, he said, "Yeah, it's the same interval. What am I supposed to do? Get an inclusion?" In a 1997 interview with Goldmine, Fogerty said, "I proved that. No, I didn't copy myself. I invented something new that really sounds a lot like me. Do you find fault with Elvis for sounding like Elvis when McCartney sounds like McCartney or Dylan sounds like Dylan? No one else ever had to go through that." Now, I'm going back to this. Saul Zaentz, who owned the publishing rights to the Clearwater Revival song, sued Fogerty, claiming the Old Man Down the Road sound too much like the 1970 Creedence song Running Through the Jungle. The bizarre lawsuit may have been the first time an artist was sued for plagiarizing himself. The case went to a jury and was eventually dismissed in Fogerty's favor, although appeals kept the case alive until 1993. A frustrated Fogerty even refused to play any Creedence songs on his 1986 tour. All right, Mr. Billy Joe, before I get into this song, I get some thoughts about him and his ever running theme of presence. I think it still goes on today with, "Hey, I'm a piano man and I'm writing these songs, and I might be just a humble man, but I'm going to show you and tell you about what I see around and witness around in the world." And For instance, we didn't start the fire. All of this, from my interpretation, is about each decade, starting from 40s, 50s, all the way into the 80s when it was made, talking about the nostalgia, the pop culture of the times, but also within the society with what was prevalent in the society, how it lewd maybe, not lewd, but how it allude maybe, and it lend itself to the hand of the issues that these particular cultures, decades were facing. So, for instance, in the 80s, it's pinpointing to all the excess, the Iacocca, I believe all the different foreign policies that were going on at the time, and leading to back to the access of the more is great in the go-go lifestyle, and you climbing up the social and corporate ladder, and leading to the issues with substance abuse as far as crack, and the let's dive in deep into that, into the realities of the AIDS crisis and HIV crisis and all and so forth. And then going into talking about things as far as this particular song that I'm mentioning, about the importance of different immigrants coming to America, and them and within that making their stance and their importance to society, the American fabric of society. All right, so let's get into it. And to add on, before I get into this song too, it's extra tidbit, very interesting. When I first heard a Billy Joel song, I didn't even know it was him, with a little girl, with the rerun, with syndication, with different sitcoms, Bosom Buddies. He sung the theme song, and then it just, how he, getting older and listening to more of his work, how he was able to capture the essence of, I guess you can say, coming to your own as a young person, and going through all the different situations of trying to find your way within that and piece everything together and keep going. And also, I think it's quite interesting, he did an interview with Dick Cavett, and Dick Cavett was asking him, various questions, and then talking about his personal life and so on and so forth. And he also asked him a particular question about his thoughts of music videos. And it's quite interesting that his response, and he said that he relates music videos to as a simile in relation to, it's like he getting a masterful painting and just putting a mustache on it. You put all this work and dedication into it. The process of making the song, and then another person or other people going in the back end of making the music video and what they see fit, and interpreting what you think you're saying, the artist is saying, and then not getting the point and missing the mark. It's very interesting. All right, so here we go. All right, moving out, Anthony's Song by Billy Joel. It's part of the album The Stranger in 1977. It charted 35 in Britain and 17 in the U.S., but the UK, that is, 35 and 17 in the U.S. Okay, the lyrics refer to the New York working class immigrant masculine ethos in which wage earners take pride at working long hours to afford the outward signs of having made it in America. The character Anthony questions if owning a house in Hackensack, a suburb of New York City, is worth the effort, while Sergeant O'Leary works 2 jobs in hopes of one day owning a Cadillac. In 2014, Joel told, when he went on the Howard Stern show, "I've seen friends of mine who were pressured into taking a job to take care of the family, and then they never fulfilled themselves. They're doing it because that's where you're supposed to go. Everybody's got something they love to do, or they should do it at talent. I see people wasting their lives not putting their talent to that purpose so they could have stuff. You get a Cadillac and then you're fine." Joel first wrote the song to a soft ballad mystery tune he had in his head. When he performed it for his band in the studio, they informed him where he got the tune. He was identical to Neil Sedaka's "Laughing in the Rain." Embarrassed, Joel changed it to a more rocking tune. In 2002, the stage production Moving Out opened on Broadway. The show was based on Joel's song, and he won a Tony Award for the orchestration. The Broadway production closed in 2005, but it lived on as a touring production from 2004 to 2007. Now, it's unfortunate that he went on Howard Stern show to say this, with the cesspool of Howard Stern, and even prevalent now with his antics, and there's just even more present of the destruction of this type of entertainment. But it's very interesting, however, in the midst of that Billy Joel is saying this prevalent point. And then it also is unfortunate with all the things that you hear today as far as the influx of immigrants coming to America and just wanting to, not all of them are that in this case, but it's unfortunate that this is going on. And of course, this happens throughout the time of immigration throughout American history, but not wanting to be here on merit, just wanting to waste away and not seeing the purpose in hard work. And it's just very interesting that Billy Joel was shining a light on this. All right, so let's get into the next artist, Simple Minds. Okay, Simple Minds. From singing that very powerful song, Don't You Forget About Me, to all of the different songs within their recording career. The emotional take on how they talk about certain things, particularly bringing it down from what they see in their own nation, from the UK to Ireland and so forth, to honing back into the conditions of humanity itself with how we place our beings. Quite interesting. It's very impactful because my first hearing of Simple Minds was, of course, with the Breakfast Club with Don't You Forget About Me, and how the lead man, how he just was able to set the tone for that song, and then it really captured the emotional development, that our emotional mind that you go through, so to speak, when you are a teenager, and you hear that tone, and it sets that tone for the background of the Breakfast Club of that movie. And it's also quite interesting to add on to this that many different artists passed on this song, and they took that song and it just blew everything away, and their career just skyrocketed and everything that came from that. All right, so let's get into it. Sanctify Yourself by Simple Minds. This album, it was part of the Once Upon a Time album, and with the song that is, it was part of the Once Upon a Time album. I butchered that up, so sorry about that. So it was in 1986, and it charted number 10 in the UK and 14 in the US. To sanctify something is to make it holy. In this uplifting song, Simple Minds singer, hey baby, Jim Kerr, is calling for personal empowerment, asking us to value the life we were given. Kerr often touches on religious themes in his lyrics, but he tends to clamp up when asked about his beliefs. If you're looking for evidence of God in the song, you can find it in lines like a vision, sweet miracles, and strange circumstances. And I hope and I pray that maybe someday you'll come back down here and show me the way. So this was in an interview with Song Facts. Says Jim Kerr, he credited Once Upon a Time producer Jimmy Iovine for developing this track, which started with a riff the band came up with. He also said the gospel filled on the song was inspired by the music of Sly and the Family Stone, which he called quite an influence on that song. Michael Ben, the singer of The Call, sang backing vocals on this track. The Call opened some tours for Simple Minds and proved very impressive. You can hear him bellowing in the background doing this gospel thing. Jim Kerr told Song Facts. Alright, so let's get on to Sinead O'Connor's The Emperor's New Clothes. Alright, say what you will about Sinead O'Connor, but her music was just the late and great there. It was legendary in how she was able to encompass the pitfalls of love in a way, and then go back to talking about the anguish of wanting to be in a relationship and seeing your place with everything, and then of course some people say tactic, but I don't know. Time tells, and time has told about that, what she did as far as ripping the photo of the Pope, and I'll talk about that more. But bringing awareness to things is the simple link to all of this. And then also on the aspects of the talking about the female experience, and not saying, oh, here I am, and presenting things that's my only reason with singing these songs. Putting more depth into everything is really something to say about that. Alright, so let's get into this song. And to close everything out with The Emperor's New Clothes. So this song was a part of the album I Do Not Want What I Haven't. And it was in 1990. It charted 31 in the UK and 60 in the US. O'Connor was 20 years old when she released her first single, Troy, and had a son with her drummer, John Reynolds. Blessed with tremendous talent and a rebellious streak, she was offered lots of advice, which she often ignored. In the song, she works out the frustrations that come with being an unmarried young mother in an Irish Catholic family with a conflicted boyfriend and a burgeoning music career. For those who know and don't know, The Emperor's New Clothes is a fairy tale written by Hans Christian Andersen. In the story, the Emperor orders fine clothes and is given nothing but told that what he is wearing is magnificent, but invisible to underlings. When he parades naked down the street, the people pretend to marvel at his clothes until a child points out that he is naked. You can see how O'Connor relates the story to those who judge her. This was O'Connor's follow-up to Nothing Compares to You, a massive hit around the world. The Emperor's New Clothes didn't do nearly as well, but was still a substantial hit. As it was falling off the charts, Sinead made headlines for asking that the national anthem not be played before she performed in New Jersey. This triggered protests and backlash, but there was more to come. She really stirred things up when she tore up a picture of the Pope on Saturday Night Live in 1992. On the show, she was promoting the album Am I Not Your Girl? And intentionally radio-unfriendly collection of cover songs. Her fan base constricted considerably, which she didn't mind at all. Andy Rocher of the Smiths played bass on this song, and Smith's drummer Mike Joyce were a part of Connor's touring band at the time. The music video was directed by John Mayber, who also did the famous video for Nothing Compares to You. And to add on, before I get into the closing part, when I had mentioned about that, my intentions of my podcast, of course, to go in more depth of understanding. Of course, that's only one aspect of talking about things that I don't agree with. But with the things that I do agree with, even giving the contradictions into those things are also some of the parts of what I'm trying to do with my podcast too. And then, give my thoughts and give my awareness of these things and give my reasons of also my appreciation of the things that I like and that I side on and everything else in between that. All right. Hey, baby. So I am with this. And the controversy of all this, with the stand of not wanting things and not wanting to be tied to American themes and all of these things and everything else with Sinead O'Connor. I think it's undeniable to also go into the fact of proving a point to speak on things and address things that are uncomfortable. And then, also, I think it's very important to get in a place, if you can or if you can't, but to move into a place where you can see these different points of views and talk about things, even though, and address and pinpoint things, even though you don't particularly agree with the other side, or where it be Democrat and then Republican, and whether nuance things and all of these so forth. And this brings light to what I'm trying to do with my podcast, to address things and to talk about things that I don't, for purpose in hand, don't particularly agree with, but to delve deep and talk and surface these things and get your thoughts about it, and then give my opinions and learn from them. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harboring Light. Tune in, turn up, and definitely take care. Bye-bye for now.